This is a cryptography primer. This presentation is an introduction to cryptography. It is part of the SEC 110 course at Rockingham Community College. Just what is cryptography? Well, in essence, it's the science of hiding ideas, sounds, pictures, words, or other data. The word is composed of two roots. The first being crypto, which means concealed secret. The second being graphy, of or for writing or drawing, which leads us to the dictionary.com definition: the science or study of the techniques of secret writing, especially code and cipher systems, methods, and the like. Now, I'd like to point out, and I want for you to bear in mind, that encryption is part of cryptography, but they are not the same. Those words should not be used interchangeable. Part of cryptography is encryption. So there are three parts to cryptography: the cipher, the original message, and the encrypted message. Cryptography takes an original message that you give it, such as a picture or a text document or whatever, and uses the cipher to encrypt it, giving you the encrypted message. Messages without encryption are said to be in clear text. Encrypted messages are usually called ciphertext. Throughout history, there have been many ciphers that have been seen. Cryptography is not new. In fact, it's thousands of years old. One of the most famous uses of cryptography was the Lorenz cipher. This was used in World War II by the Germans to encrypt and decrypt their messages. The Enigma machine was developed in Britain to crack the Lorenz cipher. In this way, they were able to crack the Germans' movements and whereabouts, unaware to the Germans the entire time. And that is one of the key things that helped them prevail in the air war with the Germans. Many of us have actually used substitution ciphers. It's a little game we sometimes play. You know, for the letter T, you substitute S or so forth. It's kind of like the Cracker Jack code ring that we used to all play with. Here is an example of a substitution cipher. In here I type my name, and then I hit this substitution cipher button, and it creates my substitution cipher. And as you can see, it has taken things up here and substituted them. Actually, the R, everywhere the R occurs, it's still an R, so that's kind of to fool you. But the I, you can see here, has been replaced by an F, and so forth. It goes through and substitutes one for the other. The shift cipher has been another technique that is very old. Essentially, it's similar to the substitution cipher, except that instead of having this substitution table, it just maybe shifts it up 3 places or up 5 places. So an A, if you shift it up 3, would become a D, and so forth. Very easy to understand and use. Given enough time, you can always crack a substitution cipher or a shift cipher. They're just too easy, and you can eventually use letter frequencies and stuff to figure it out. The polyalphabetic cipher is much harder to crack. What you do is you take the original message, and then you have an overlay of another set of text. Usually it's a short piece of text that's repeated. Then what you do is you take the first character out of the original message and the first character in the overlaid text, and you combine them, so that actually performs a shift on the original message. And so as you overlay, it's not a one-to-one relationship, it actually becomes a one-to-many relationship. So this makes it extremely difficult to crack this. So eventually even the polyalphabetic cipher came under attack. Two guys created a method to crack the polyalphabetic ciphers. What they did was they suggested that you could probably figure out what the length of each overlay of the second alphabet or the overlaid text was. And based on that, then you could solve each cipher or each little sub-cipher on its own. It would be almost like a substitution cipher at that point. So actually these guys showed that it was not all that impossible to crack a polyalphabetic cipher. Today there are many well-known ciphers in use. The first is known as the data encryption standard. And this was released quite a while back, and since then it's been cracked by hackers quite successfully. They also subsequently released an enhancement of this called Triple DES, or Triple DES, which today is still used some, but it still has its own vulnerabilities. RSA actually stands for Rivest, Shamir, and Edelman, and these were guys. This is actually considered a fairly secure encryption standard, but what you would really want to use today is AES. AES turns out to be probably the best that we have today, except for maybe a one-time pad or something. AES has 120-bit block sizes, and to this date it has remained the gold standard of data encryption. Anyhow, that's it for now. Hope you've enjoyed this. Study hard.